I believe that everyone is creative and that our creativity is medicine, and not just for ourselves. It's our hope and our connection for a better world for all of us. I'm Ashley Riley, and this is Made of Dreams. Welcome to Made of Dreams. I'm your host, Ashley Riley, and I'm so excited to be back with a brand new season and a brand new era. It's been a minute, y'all, but I had so much fun with the first season of Made of Dreams, connecting with other artists and introducing them to you, creating community, and talking about creativity and all kinds of other things. After that amazing season, I took a little break. I created an Americana folk pop duo called the Magnolia Janes. I did some touring and was just kind of living life and loving life. I was hanging with my family, working, traveling, and then I kind of got the rug pulled out from under me in 2025. I had a personal situation where I really had to just cancel everything. From about April till June, I was not working, I wasn't traveling, I wasn't playing any shows. I was just being exactly where I was needed and honestly, the only place I wanted to be. I'm not going to go into details because it's not really my story to tell, but I'll just say that my family spent almost a month in and out of hospitals, and after that situation started to turn around and become a bit less dire, I guess I was able to slowly pick up the pieces and put things back together in a new way and figure out how to show up and return to work. Although honestly, it took me fully through the summer and even like September, October to really want to get back to where I felt comfortable, like resuming my previous schedule and even wanting to. The drive and the importance of going back to all the things had actually just shifted and changed for me, and it felt like a lot less mattered. I was in this place where I felt like everything mattered and also nothing mattered. So all of that to say, it was a year, just kind of keeping my head above water and having to be okay with that. Looking back, there were blessings and there was laughter and synchronicities and ways that I was supported through all of that and that my family was supported through all of that, but I really had to search for them. And in the end, what I walked away with was just this knowing that life is amazing, and then it's hard, and then it's amazing again, and then it sucks. And in those times where it's really hard, it's important, and maybe even more so, to try to find those silver linings and to really try to appreciate life when it's good and just at all. So I've spent the last year kind of protecting my energy and like putting the pieces back together and figuring out what I wanted to do next and where I wanted to go next and how I wanted to do it. And I came to find that I really missed Made of Dreams. I really missed podcasting. So I'm excited to tell you about this season of Made of Dreams and how I'm going to be sharing ideas on creativity. I've actually been doing work as the editor of Magic Hour podcast with Taylor Page since sometime in October of 2024, which was one of those amazing blessings for me that looking back was the most amazing support that I never could have known I was going to need when I took that job. Like 6 months later, the way that I worked just immediately shifted overnight. And Magic Hour was not only a source of income because I was able to work remotely, but such a huge source of light and inspiration while I was stumbling around in the dark. So make sure you check out that show. I'm really proud of the work that I do there. And now, dun, 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 get ready. We're getting what some may call woo, which, if I'm being honest, is kind of my favorite way to be. But honestly, I just call it spiritual. So as far back as I can remember, and if you've listened in before, you know I've always been fascinated by all self-development type things, personality tests, astrology, Enneagram, tarot, you name it, I'm taking the quiz. Like, if you're like me, when you were growing up, you got 17 magazine and Jane, and like, I was always like, where's the horoscope? Where's the quiz? I loved it. Just Analyzing like the why of myself and my friends, it's kind of my thing. Fast forward to being a stylist for the last 25 years and an indie musician for the last 18, I've really come to find that creative work literally is spiritual work, personal development work. I believe that art transforms us and that it's a worthy pursuit. And I do count being a stylist as creative work. It's an art form in its own right. And talking with my clients and growing with them over the years was one of the things that led me to want to create a show in the first place. I have really good conversations with my people. And honestly, one of the first ideas for a show that I had was going to be called Therapy, like therapy, but you get what I mean. But I felt more called to the idea that everyone is creative and a lot of people forget that they are. So I wanted to inspire people to see the ways in which they were creative and to invite more of that into their lives. And Made of Dreams was born, which leads me to where I'm headed this season. In the last season that I've been through personally, I've really found it helpful to use tarot cards, not as a fortune-telling device, but to help me sort through the energy and the emotions of what I'm going through. It's been so helpful instead of ruminating for days or weeks or months to be able to just tune in with myself, pull a card, and sit with the perspective of the card and see how I can integrate that and move forward. Sometimes it's been validation for what I'm feeling, and then that's enough, and I can just move on. I feel like it's a lens and a filter and really just like a fascinating way of working with energy that I'm currently really excited by. It was interesting because as I was in a season of so much unknown, which, like, who are we kidding? Every day is unknown, but somehow we feel like we have a handle on it. But being confronted with that reality head on, first of all, I was really pissed at God and I had some choice words and like a crisis of faith. And I've since, accepted a new peace with that, and we're back on speaking terms, God and I, which reminds me that a songwriter acquaintance of mine just had the most amazing song of hers cut by Ella Langley, and it's called Speaking Terms, and it's really all about that, so check it out. But back to the point, I've found tarot to be so helpful as I do the inner work. So this season, I'm going to be picking a weekly topic around creativity and creative work that I feel called to talk about solo, sometimes with a guest if I feel like that's beneficial. And then I'm going to pull a card on the topic of each episode and briefly talk about the tarot card and weave it into the weekly theme and my personal experience and just kind of have that additional filter to look at these conversations around creativity with. So, to start, I pulled a card for the theme of this season and being inspired by creative work being personal development work. So first, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the tarot, and then we'll get into the card of the season. So there are 78 tarot cards, and they're split into two groups. The Major Arcana, which has 22 cards and represents major life themes and like karma. Cards 0 through 9 are sometimes called the Fool's Journey, and cards 10 through 21 are the turning points and the transformation. So when you pull these major cards, it's an indication that the energy of what you're asking about is really significant. And the rest of the deck is called the Minor Arcana, and it's divided into 4 suits: the Cups, Swords, Pentacles, and Wands. Those each represent an element. So the cups are water, and they represent emotions and our inner world. Swords are an air element, and they represent communication and decision making. Pentacles represent the earth and their earthly possessions and behavior, and a lot of times career. And then finally, the wands are fire, and they represent passion and desire and creativity. Each card also has correspondences to astrology, which I'll just loosely touch on each week. So that's a very brief general idea, and we'll get more into it as we get into the season. So as I pulled a card for the energy of this season, I was really wishing for like the star because, I'm a musician and an artist. So of course I want that star energy, which is like beacon of hope and optimism and authenticity, shining your light. And instead I pulled the 6 of Swords. So let's get into it, shall we? As I mentioned, swords are an air element, which is a suit of action. Swords appear to help encourage communication and decision making and to help you find your personal power, all of which I actually really love for the journey of this season and for the theme of creative work being something that encourages introspection and depth. Astrologically, the Six of Swords corresponds to the planet of Mercury in Aquarius. Mercury is the mind and communication, and Aquarius can be innovation and humanitarianism. So the deck that I'm using is the Wandering Star Tarot by Kat Pierce. I picked it up at the recommendation of Taylor Page from Angels and Amethyst and the host of Magic Hour podcast, which I have the honor of being the editor of, and I love this deck. It's beautiful, whimsical art, was all hand-drawn by Kat, and the modern interpretations resonate with me really deeply, so I'm going to read a couple things from the guidebook now to give you an idea of the wisdom it contains and how it frames the Six of Swords. And then I'll kind of elaborate with how that sits for me. So some keywords from the guidebook are exploration, discovery, and moving on. It says here that the Six of Swords is a beacon of hope in difficult times. You've made it through the dark night, and it's time for you to recover, discover, and move on. It could be a literal vacation or simply a journey inward to take inventory of how much you've learned and how far you've come. However it unfolds, it's sure to be a peaceful, harmonious time. Distance yourself from uptight energies and drama, perhaps even make a plan to travel somewhere alone and reflect on all the things that have brought you to this place in your life and visualize where you'll go next. So when I read that, it really kind of hits home for me of the creation idea of this podcast. If you don't have a tarot deck, you could Google the Six of Swords to see what it looks like, or see it here if you're watching the video. But the imagery on the card is a woman in a boat sailing away towards calmer waters. She's wearing a cloak, and there are swords upright in the boat. The swords are literally like stuck into the wood of the boat. So to me, this is a deep emotional card. It's an air card, but you're in water, which in the tarot, cups are the element of water and they represent emotion. So that fits with what we do when we create. We are searching the depths of our emotions and we're communicating. So a lot of times creativity is a solo journey, and other times it's a collaboration. On the traditional deck, the woman has a child in the boat with her, and there's a man or another figure doing the paddling. And I personally like to think of the child as your inner child, if you're into that sort of thing. Another thing to note is that it's a boat with an oar, so that's a slow boat. And creativity can be slow. I actually have one song that took me, I think, 5 years to finish. I wrote a verse and a chorus, and then I could never figure out where to go next. And years later, something kind of pulled me back to it, and I finished writing it and then put it on an album. So I do think of creativity as like a muscle that you flex. And I honestly think of most things that way. We all know someone who says, I don't have a creative bone in my body. And then that person will grow the most beautiful garden or serve the most delicious meal. And that is also creation. I just want to say that because I don't believe that the only way to be creative is to be an artist. You can be creative in the way that you dress, the way that you care for others. I just really still want people to start to see that in themselves. I want to read you one of my favorite quotes by Kurt Vonnegut. He said, "Go into the arts. I'm not kidding. The arts are not a way to make a living. They are a very human way of making life more bearable. Practicing an art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow, for heaven's sake. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem to a friend, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will get an enormous reward. You will have created something." The creation is the reward. And of course, as humans, we also crave the way that art connects us. I think art connects us in a way that we don't even comprehend sometimes or give it credit for. Of course, I'm partial to music, but I'm speaking to all art. Have you ever heard a song that pumped you up and got you going? Have you ever watched a movie that made you cry? Have you ever laughed at a comedian? Have you ever seen a piece of art that stopped you in your tracks or just drew you in and wondered, like, what was the artist thinking about when they created it? Have you ever had a meal so good that you still think about it? All of these things are works of art, and all of these things connect us not only with the artist, but with ourselves. Art connects us in ways that we don't even realize. One time I read this article, and it was about how when musicians are locked in and play together, their brainwaves actually link up and they get on the same brainwave. I looked it up so that I could tell you the details behind it, but the brain waves actually synchronize and form what they call an interbrain network when playing together, particularly in the theta and delta frequency bands. And it apparently allows for a better coordination, timing, and anticipation of each other's actions, creating a shared community brain. And this goes beyond guitarists, actually, which is, I think, who they based the study on. But they found that it also happened with duos and groups, choirs, pianists, and even audiences at live concerts. Like, isn't that just mind-blowing? But doesn't it also make so much sense? Like, I cry literally at every concert I ever go to at some point. And it's usually if the entire crowd is singing together, like it just does something to me and I can't help it. Like it actually does something to all of us, even if we're not aware of it. Like my little sister sent me an article about how going to a live music event every 2 weeks, which if I'm being honest, sounds like kind of a lot, but that could potentially add 9 years to your life. Like what? It elevates your dopamine and it lowers cortisol and it makes you happy, which is so good for you. Anyway, I would guess that it's not just music. I would guess that participating in any art form has health benefits. But if you're interested, I'll link the study about the brainwaves linking up and I'll put it in the show notes because it actually just reminded me of this crazy thing that happened with my duo, the Magnolia Janes. Because when Sarah and I work together, we're actually a long distance duo. So when we get together, we have like a long weekend or a week of touring or we're at a conference for a week, but like dedicated time where we're like working the whole time. We're constantly together. And so we really like hone in, and I think that helps us be really productive. And one time we were performing at this televised like regional entertainment show called CI Living, which means Central Illinois Living. And we sang mostly in harmony. I don't know what happened, except that like maybe our brains linked up because we started the song and it's like one strum and like harmony. I sang her part and she sang mine. And we kind of looked at each other like, what? And then we just switched back and it was totally fine, but like really crazy. And another specific time of that I remember, and this has probably happened to many of you, but like we had spent the week at this music conference and we were sitting in this great room working on our computers in silence. And at the exact same time, we sang the exact same line just out of the blue. So many things like that. Like we'll say the same things at the same time and sometimes almost like in harmony. We don't even try. We just link up. And I think there's just something magical about the way that her and I work together. And apparently it could also be scientific and maybe like biological. I don't know. I don't really question too much. I just kind of marvel at it. Another time I was down in Nashville at the Children's Science Center Museum. I'm not sure of the exact name, but they had this really cool display and it's not there anymore. It was like a temporary thing, but basically it had this huge projector screen and you could walk up and you could kind of like see your shadow or your body, like almost like a heat map type image of your body. I don't know how it was measuring it, but then it had almost like these little waves or tentacles coming out of the tops of our heads. And what was really cool was that I took Woodrow, my son, and he was probably like maybe 5 or 6 at the time. So he's like zooming around, and I'm standing there and I have this wave kind of coming out like an octopus arm tentacle reaching. And then Woodrow zooms into the frame and kind of is like moving around and posing, and like my little wave like snapped onto him. And then once mine did that, like his kind of snaked its way over because of course, like he's my child, I'm watching him. Like it just it was really cool to actually see a physical representation of that on a screen, and other people would come in the frame and like your brainwaves would connect. Like we are all one. You're someone. You're some of the one. And you're a masterpiece, which means you're a piece of the master. And it's just very interesting to think about how connected we really are and how we can all tap into that and infuse it into our lives in a meaningful way. One of my favorite things to remember is that emotions are energy in motion. And if you're resonating with any of this, this season is for you. So all of this, the Six of Swords, it's a definite journey. It's a process, and it's perfect for this season of the podcast. We're going to explore creativity through the lens of tarot, and we're starting a journey. We're getting in the boat. It's an exploration, it's a discovery process, and through that process, I hope that we're headed into calmer waters because we're choosing to look at what we've got in our boat, what we're carrying forward. The swords are in the boat and maybe we throw them over. Maybe we have to use them. I don't know. It might not be a comfortable journey, but I believe it's a worthwhile one. And it's one that I hope you will join me on. We're going to be talking about fear, creative slumps, self-sabotage, self-promotion, the loneliness of art, creating community, connecting with an audience, self-trust, creative identity, all kinds of things. And we're also going to be talking about infusing our work with joy and love and learning to rest and so much more as this season progresses. I really can't wait to get started, and I'm just so very happy to be back with the official start of season 2 of Made of Dreams. So thank you so much for listening. Please consider subscribing and sharing this episode. I'm going to leave you with a song of mine that was inspired by my life kind of shutting down last year. It's my brand new single, and it's called Easy on Me. I hope you'll take a listen, and I will see you next week. In the meantime, dream on.